Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Country Education Partnerships free online professional development program, the Autumn Series. My name is Gary Allen. I've been a principal of rural schools and a past chair of the organisation. And it is a pleasure for me to be invited to host the session today. The Country Education Partnership acknowledges the traditional owners and custodians of the land throughout Australia and their connections to the sea and the community. I'm speaking to you from the land of the Gadabanud family group of the Eastern Maar. I pay my respects to the elders past, present, and we extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people, and particularly to any who are part of today's session. It is the first of our 2026 professional development program. The Autumn Series has 4 sessions, and the topic of today's program is important resources for teachers and teaching principals. It is now my pleasure to introduce the CEO of the Country Education Partnership, Mark McClay, to provide an update on CEP activities. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Gary, and welcome everyone. Certainly an honour to have CEP Life member Gary Allen on board with us this year to host our PD Online series. Also, a privilege, very soon you'll see, a privilege to have Hon Fiona Nash launching our series for this year, and we'll see that recording very soon. We had to record that to ensure with Fiona's timetable that we got that session in. So just a quick CEP update. We have our AGM coming up Friday week, which is in Melbourne, available for you to attend online through an Eventbrite, but also live in person. Of course, we'd love to have you there. It's a wonderful opportunity to network. Our P12 Summit is the following Friday, and registrations continue to come in for that. It's our first ever P12 Summit that we're helping to support and run. And special thoughts go out to all our small school principals today who've been, as well as their role of small school principal, have been navigating their way through the NAPLAN issues with the writing test with some difficulties, because of course they have a dual role of being the NAPLAN coordinator in their school, most of them, the various schools. So our fingers crossed for them that it's sorted out tomorrow and they can access that service. Well, I've had quite a few calls today from people who found that an interesting journey. That's all for CEP. I will pass back to you, Gary. Thank you.
Thanks, Mark. It's always really reassuring to hear about the ways that CEP is building upon the advantages that students and staff have by learning in a rural setting. It's great. As usual, today's session will take exactly 1 hour and we will conclude by 5 p.m. The program is being recorded, so there will be the opportunity for you to rewatch the session online, as well as all previous sessions. If you have a question, please include it in the chat box, and we will endeavour to respond during the course of today's program. Towards the end, there will be a survey in the chat box, and we certainly encourage everyone to complete it so that we can analyse your feedback about today's session. I'll now hand back to Mark to introduce Commissioner Nash.
Hi everyone, my great pleasure today to introduce the individual who's going to launch our 4th PD series in 2026, and we are honoured and excited to have the Regional Education Commissioner, the Hon Fiona Nash, with us today. Hi Fiona.
Hi Mike, how are you?
And I believe as of January this year, you're also the Acting Interim Commissioner for the Australian Tertiary Education Commission, or ATEC.
I am indeed, 2 roles at the moment, which is wonderful.
Fantastic. Yeah, I'm sure you had plenty of time on your hands. That's why you've put your hand up for that. Look, Fiona's role focuses on improving educational outcomes for regional, rural and remote students. Fiona's been a tremendous advocate for everything rural education and certainly a great friend of CEP. And we've thoroughly enjoyed our relationship with Commissioner Nash, including with our rural youth ambassadors who meet with her yearly. And I know Fiona gets a lot out of those sessions. So it's an honour to have you here today. And I'll pass over to you to say a few words and then launch our 4th PD series.
Mark, thank you very much for that very kind introduction. I'm absolutely delighted to be here today, and what you're doing is such a terrific and worthwhile initiative. So very, very pleased to be able to be here today to launch the series. So I'm the Regional Education Commissioner. I have been for the last 4 years or so. And the role is very much from early childhood through schools, vocational education and training, through to higher education, with a real focus on what is going to improve outcomes for people in rural and regional and remote areas. So I work with stakeholders right across the sector, with people in the education sector, with people right across communities, local people, to look at what are the challenges across regional education and, more importantly, what the solutions are to those challenges that we see in our regional areas right across the country. There's also a lot of opportunity out there in the regions, and I'm always so privileged to be working with people in regional areas to look at what those opportunities are to be able to make things better in education for people in the regions. So I'm required once a year in November to provide an annual report to the Minister. I have a secretariat that sits in the Department of Education in Canberra, and working very closely with the department. While I'm not of the department, work very closely with the department. And as I say, very privileged to be able to be in this role, if you like, as a champion for people in rural and regional and remote areas. There are a number of key issues that I'm working on consistently and right across from early childhood right through that whole education pipeline. One of the key things is around how do we improve access and participation and attainment, particularly for young people looking to go down a tertiary pathway. And we know that there are often a lot of barriers that sit there, particularly for young people in regional areas when they're looking at going on to either a uni or a vet pathway, when it comes to cost of attending, when it comes to, as we all know in regional areas, the tyranny of distance and how challenging that can be, and how different it is for a student in regional areas compared to a student in a metropolitan area. And it's not just young people. We're seeing a lot of people who might want to change their careers midway, if you like, along their life journey, and they also need a lot of support around making choices about what a new career might look like for them, what a first career might look for somebody along that mid-career pathway or that half-line journey, if you like, of where you are on life's journey. But we often forget to talk about those people. Often the focus can be very much just on young students, but people in our regional communities are often looking at extending their learning, doing lifelong learning, and it's important that we look at all of the different student cohorts that we see out in regional areas. One of the areas I've been doing a lot of work, which I think is particularly important to make sure that people can access the tertiary pathway they'd like to, is around careers advice. And seeing a lot across the country in schools, the different ways often that careers advice is delivered. Sometimes it's terrific, sometimes it's not so great. And anecdotally, I can see that more work needs to be done for us to actually identify what we think is a required benchmark, if you like, in best practice in careers advice. And then how do we best make that happen across the country? Because we know if we can really connect with people at a young age, right back from primary school, they are far more likely and able to be able to go on to a tertiary pathway as they go through their learning journey. And really important that they get the right advice when they need it, as early as possible, about all the different opportunities that might be sitting there in front of them for them to take when they want to think about, what am I going to do after school? What would I like to do? And what's a future career for me? So very, very important we look at that careers advice and how it works. Similarly with outreach to, again, young people, particularly in rural areas, so that they know what's on offer. And even one of your rural youth ambassadors said to me a while ago in South Australia, Mark, that they'd had a university come to the school. And she said, Fiona, it was great. It was terrific. She said, but I don't want to know about one university. I want to know about all universities. And that really stuck with me. And I thought, we've got to make sure that young people can see as many opportunities as they possibly can when they're making their decisions about their future life. And so how we connect with those young people, particularly out in the regions, to show them what is possible and what is an opportunity. Often people will say to me, Fiona, young people in the regions don't have aspiration. And occasionally they don't. Mostly they do. They do have aspiration. What they don't have is the knowledge and the confidence to follow that pathway to a tertiary qualification and through to a career. And it's about making sure we find ways to give them that confidence and the knowledge that they need. And Mark, you would know that from all of the young people that you work with. Their aspirations are amazing, and it's about finding that way to support them to be able to walk on those pathways they choose to go along. Also, childcare in the regions is something I'm very much focused on. And when we compare city to country, it's a lot more challenging often to find places in childcare for families. And this has a double challenge, a challenge for the young child in childcare, because we know that childcare provides great opportunities for learning and for care for young people, but also it's a workforce issue in the regions. So when we've got people who are potentially looking at going into the workforce in the region, but they can't because they can't get a childcare place, that affects whole regional communities and the economies of those communities. So while we look at childcare in the regions, it's a very significant regional issue right across the board. One of the key things I'm consistently working on as well is making sure that decision makers don't do one-size-fits-all policy across the country. And so often we see and we know that policies that work well in city areas simply don't work well in rural and regional and remote areas. And that's particularly with education, where there are those challenges of distance, there are those challenges of costs, there are those challenges often with not quite the opportunities you might see in the cities. And so when people are looking at making policy and making decisions around legislation, be they ministers or government or people in departments or in the states and territories, I'm spending a lot of time making sure they're very mindful of the differences of rural and regional and remote Australia and the people that live in those areas compared to people in the cities. So I'm delighted to be here today, and it is just so important that we get accessible, high quality professional development for our educators out in the region. So regardless of location, and this comes up with me a lot about the cost of people having to physically travel from regions to cities to do professional development, about the lack of opportunity because of that and the cost associated, particularly say for school teachers. A school might have to pay for the cost of having somebody to come in and pick up casually while they're away if they can find them. So there's real challenges. So looking at what you're doing with this online PD series, it's absolutely terrific because it's bringing that professional development to people in the regions who should be able to access that sort of educational support at the same level people do in the cities. And the fact they can do it online is just such a game changer for them. In not having to travel and being able to receive it where they are in place, which is terrific. And the value of that shared learning as well across rural communities. We know it addresses those isolation issues that are often there, and it really builds connections. So a wonderful initiative that you do, and has such value for those educators out in rural and regional and remote communities. So wishing you all the best with it. I think it's great work that you're doing. It's really filling an important need, and great to see, you know, regional educators, regional people right up there as priorities in being able to receive this. So I am now delighted to officially launch the Country Education Partnerships Professional Development online series for 2026.
Thank you to Commissioner Nash for launching our series. We're really excited about the year to come. And now I'll pass back to our brilliant and talented host for today.
Very kind. Thanks, Mark. I'll now hand over to CEP Manager Maurice Billy, who will introduce our guests and facilitate today's discussion. Thank you, Maurice.
Thanks, Gary, and nice to see you again after quite some time. So we must catch up at some point and have a good conversation. But it was fantastic to launch our new series with Fiona Nash, and as she mentioned, she's done a fair bit of work with our rural youth ambassadors over the last few years, and I know their feedback has always been really positive about her interaction with them and taking on the issues of rural students across Victoria and trying to advance those in her portfolio. So very much appreciated, and we look forward to that partnership continuing into the future. It's great that the autumn series is starting with the topic today of resources, because I think, as we're probably all aware, in the last 5 or 10 years, there's been an explosion of resources that have become on the market and become available. And that's only a good thing, because it's providing a whole range of options and opportunities for our school community and our teachers and our staff and people who work in those areas. And today we've got a couple of those resources which I think are absolutely fantastic, and they're about making things easier and more effective and more creative for our school people, and not making them feel like it's an onerous task to tap into these resources that are available. So we've not prepared one, Amanda, but we've actually prepared two for you today. So we get two for the price of one, but they're both brilliant, and they've both got some content today that they're going to share with you, some stuff that I'm really excited to hear a bit more about as well. So first up, we've got Amanda Tan from Cool Plus. It's a social enterprise helping teachers spark joy and curiosity, and having a look at the website and the resources, I certainly noticed that theme working all the way through, and with a real strong focus on, you know, partnerships, conversations, quality learning, but really effective resources that anyone can use. And I think it's fantastic. So without any further ado, Amanda, I'm going to throw over to you, and looking forward to hearing about Cool Plus.
Thanks, Maurice. I hope everyone can see my screen there. Former teacher here. I'm primary trained. I've been out of the classroom, to be honest, about 11 years now. But like what you said, Maurice, these days there's just an absolute sea of resources out there, and you're constantly wading through to find the right ones. I've been with Cool Plus for a couple of years. We are the sister social enterprise org of Cool.org, which formerly known as Cool Australia, which you may have heard of us before. Primarily, we champion sustainability and the 3 pillars under that: economic, social and environmental. But I'm here today to talk to you about Cool Plus, because we have a really great offer, being that we are funded through philanthropy, particularly the social enterprise side of it as well. And we've got an offer for country schools to access our content and support, and also on the back of what Fiona mentioned about having access to quality PD, we've got a number of micro courses with experts that you can also tap into with Cool Plus. So our tagline, I guess, is teach what matters when it matters. We know that teachers are under the pump and just under so much pressure to do everything all at once, and particularly in small rural schools, wearing many different hats. We know that it can be tricky, and when it comes time to be teaching tricky topics, and sometimes topics that might be a little bit, I guess, challenging in that they can elicit some emotional responses from students, we want to ensure that we're teaching those through a lens of hope and action. So a lot of the work that we do is underpinned by positive psychology principles, design thinking and hope theory. So we want to make, the next generation as positive, and the world that they're growing into, they can make a positive impact. So Cool Plus, if you're wondering what it is, it's a bank of hundreds of lessons plans, but you also get access to all of the resources off cool.org. So we've partnered with various organisations from Clean Up Australia to Disney. We've got a partnership coming out with Mecca. We've done one with Collingwood. There's just so many great partners we work with to bring the real world into the classroom. On that, we have full units, so you can teach from start to finish. We have slide deck presentations, so you can use them as provocations. Everything's fully editable, and you can adapt, because we know that you're the teacher in the classroom. I always tell teachers, you don't want to be the actor in a play. This is not a script for you to work from. It's for you to really know your students best and know how to engage them. So that's what we want to do and envisage for your class. We have the professional learning. As I mentioned, we've got about 150 different micro courses, all on demand, all self-paced. Andrew Fuller is probably one of our most popular presenters. We've worked with various ex-principals as well. Lots of experts in various fields to support you in teaching these tricky topics. But today I wanted to bring light to our new AI lesson builder. So we've got like in the world of AI, there's something for everyone out there, and we know that there's loads of things out there that are going to save you time, but cool.org's or Cool Plus's lesson builder has been constructed in a way that just takes out if I go to this slide here, you can see that we know that teachers feel overwhelmed by using AI. Some have dabbled, some haven't. There's a real gap in like trusting and having the knowledge and skills of how to use it properly. And sometimes you might find you're using it and then spending so much more time, it hasn't saved you any time to begin with when you're trying to create a lesson, for example, and you've got to put in all your prompts and guardrails. So we like to think that we're sort of the Robin to your Batman. In that we can partner with you to support you in creating some really impactful, engaging resources. And how we do that is in a really simple way, where it's just 4 simple prompts, and I'll demonstrate shortly. Just your subject, so for anything from foundation up to year 10, we've got all the curriculum alignment in there. You just put in your subject area, year level. It's a topic, it can be as basic as you want or as detailed as you want. And then you're presented with a fully editable document. But the key, I guess, the difference to what sets us apart to other sort of creative tools out there is that we've got all these, it's like a lesson lab where you can add your own enhancements, if you like, based on pedagogical principles that we know and use. So building in hope pedagogy, adding rubrics, there's misconception finders, there's adding in cross-curriculum priorities, there's all these different things you can add in and really make it your own really quickly. This is just an example of what we've pulled up from the last sort of 10 or so, 15 or so lessons, anything from like foundation up to year 8. We've had teachers in different stages there, and their topics and their subject areas and the type of lessons that they can create. But with the Country Education Partnership, are all small schools. It doesn't matter whether you're from a large or a small school. If you're regional, remote, or have a low ICSEA, which is under 1,000, we can provide you with fully funded access, not just for you, but for your entire team. So that means you can have access to all the professional learning and have a whole school approach to a certain aspect that you might want to learn a bit more about and dive into. Really easy to, again, build lessons to create across the whole school, with exactly like Harmony Day coming up. We've got a whole suite of lessons where you can have a whole school approach to teaching about diversity. That's a possibility as well. So we're really lucky to be funded through the Origin Foundation. So it's really easy to access this. I'm your person to get in touch with. Just simply amanda@cool.org. If you just send me the number of teachers that you would like, and we'll set up access, and included in that is a session where I can take you through, but it's quite intuitive, and I'm going to just walk through really quickly now because I'm conscious of the time. Have I got about 5 minutes? Yep. Okay. All right. Well, let's put this to the test. So you can even, if you don't want to sign up straight away, obviously you can trial. We have a free trial access, but it's as simple as creating a lesson. You can adapt our back from our bank of resources where we've started, and they're all made by teachers, not generated by AI, or you can design your own. And here's this really quick sort of prompt process here. So we add Victorian curriculum. Let's choose, I'll just choose geography, and let's say 5 and 6. And then you pop in your topic. I'm just going to put in First Nations. Let's do caring for country. And I'll put in maybe fire and floods. So you can put in absolutely anything in this prompt here, and then it'll come up with a bank of descriptors. So then you can type in search prompts here, or you can just select from here. Let's look at challenges in land management there, and I might develop a range of questions about how places are managed. Select as many as you like, and then it'll create the lesson. So in the background here, it's applying cultural sensitivity as appropriate. We're not just pulling from all ethers of the internet. We've put in specific guardrails to make sure that the output is not, to use one of a better term, AI slop. But definitely, yeah, have a look through this, and we'll it just takes a few seconds just to load here. But on the left here, you'll have all your lessons that you've created. You can share your output with your team, and they can edit as they go as well. But basically, you'll be given a document here. Think of this like a Google Doc where you can just change things as you wish. You can add images, add anything you want to, but this is sort of your meaty skeleton, if you like, that you can add to. You've got the summary here, learning intentions, success criteria. We always start off with a bit of a prompt. So we want to sometimes it can be like a narrative, or this one here is you're part of a task force assembled by the Premier, looking at facing increasing bushfire season, destructive floods. So just my speed reading here. They need to present a report about how maybe First Nations knowledge can be integrated into modern strategies. And then what I love about this here is you've got why it matters. So it's indicating, linking directly back to the curriculum why you're teaching this, which I think sometimes can get lost when you're trying to search for something and create something. You've got to really come back to know why, what you're teaching, why you're teaching. We follow a tune in, find out model, but you can over here click on the I do, we do, you do button to change the structure. So I know that's a fairly big approach in this current time. But as you can see, we've broken it down into 3 sections, step by step. There's always a story of change in here. So this is drawn from the various organisations that we work with, so students can see what is actually happening out there. The assessment opportunities, differentiation, key vocab, resources, all the SDGs are in there as well. But over here is really where all the magic happens. I'll just be really super quick. It's just a matter of just clicking on, if I clicked on general capabilities, for example, it's going to come up with a few options of how I can integrate the general capabilities into this lesson. So it's a great start, like a springboard, if you like. So taking critical creative thinking, it's got here during find out, student analyse case studies of cultural burning to identify different impacts. And underneath here, as you'll see in, if you want to make those changes, underneath you'll see it'll highlight in purple, and then you just make that adaptation there. So it's adding this one in here, and then it's changing it up there for you. The if I go back, no thanks. General capabilities here, if you go through all of them, you can see different ways in which you can add and modify. So adding in a personal social capability, linking ethical understanding, all of those you can add in. With the misconception binder and questioning coach, if I just jump on that one just real quickly, you can see, just one second, it is working hard in the background. You've got, when questioning is obviously very important, strategy here. You've got various question prompts that you can choose for activating knowledge, simply checking for understanding, or wanting to encourage students to reflect. So these are all based on the lesson. You can export these, share these with your team really easily just by clicking that link, sharing out that link. If I just go back to, let's close this. If we go into I do, we do, you do, you'll see it will change up the structure of it. Yeah. There just might be a little bit of a glitch. It's working too hard at the moment. But you can get the idea. It's very user-friendly, and we're always adapting and adding new features. We're going to be having a unit builder built in very soon, because I know teaching, particularly in primary with integrated curriculum, it's going to be a really easy way to build that out for you. Yeah, so as I said, this is available to all schools, regional remote schools, low ICSIA schools. If you want to reach out to me, there's no cost to the school's full 12 months access. And with that, you get a session. I can run you through and show the teachers how to use it. And more importantly, I guess, walk you through the various professional learning courses that we have. But unfortunately, it's a very short amount of time to go through today. But I hope that's given you a bit of a taster on Cool Plus. There's always something new coming out of Cool. And yeah, thanks for your time.
Amanda, that's fantastic. And I think, as you rightly stated right at the end, it just appears to be really user-friendly. And I think it's effectively designed for the audience, which is definitely going to use it. I have seen it used in a classroom with a teacher that I know who found it a wonderful addition to the work that she was doing, and very easy to navigate. So I think, as we talked about resources, having these things available and so easy to get into and navigate. I know you mentioned there quickly about getting in touch with you if someone's interested. I'm guessing if someone hasn't heard about it before and wants to start the process, a deep dive into the website, or just reach out to you, or potentially a bit of both.
Yeah, look, you're welcome to jump onto coolplus.ai. Even on cool.org, you can see there's a lot of free resources available on there, but Cool Plus sits alongside that with some gated content. So this is where the offer is that it's fully funded for schools, small regional remote schools can have access to absolutely everything. But the AI lesson builder, if you jump onto, yeah, I think it's this one here. Yep, Cool Plus, try for free. It's simply just putting in your email address. You get a code and you can have a play around. And if you have any questions or you want to know more about it, yeah, please, happy to help. As I said, I've been a teacher, love helping teachers. So yeah, please get in touch.
And just quickly, and I know it's not part of this context specifically, but you did mention briefly about the professional learning and development, that's sort of an adjunct to your work. What sort of things are coming up in that space, and people just, again, jump on the website to check out what's available? Yeah,
so we've got over 150 different courses, working with Andrew Fuller. We worked with Megan Corcoran around trauma-enforced practice. We've worked with the Victorian SRC, I forgot his name escapes me, I'm sorry. But yeah, there's loads of different courses, even on hope theory, teaching STEM. There's loads. So yeah, jumping onto the website and going under professional learning, you'll see the whole bank there. But there's definitely lots of gold in there, and easily accessible, self-paced micro learning. Yeah, it's great.
It's fantastic. And as I said in the beginning, these resources have developed so well over the years, to the point where you don't get overwhelmed. You actually look at them and go, this is actually going to provide good value and an easy opportunity for me to navigate it. And I think that's the real secret here for our busy school staff and teaching professionals, that they've got something that just can value add to the work that they're already doing.
Yeah, and look, I just want to finish on that, Maurice. Thanks for bringing that up. Our latest independent research found that cool.org, our resources bring back the joy in teaching. So we did quite a lot of extensive research. We want students to be engaged, teachers to be engaged in teaching real world topics in a safe way that inspires them and the students. So we're really proud of that fact.
Fantastic. You've done very well, Amanda. Thank you for sort of, it was a bit of like speed dating there that we got through it, but
It'll be quick.
it was very quick.
Yeah.
But you've given everyone a really good taster, and there's obviously a whole bunch of resources that people can now go and check out, and also reach out to you if they'd like further information. If anyone had a burning question right now, we would probably have a minute or so to do that if anyone has that. Otherwise, we will continue on. Looks like you've covered everything, which is fantastic. As I promised at the beginning, we've got two Amandas today, and I won't say we've left the best to last. They're both equal and they're both wonderful, and we're very lucky to have both of them here today. Amanda Rossi is from ClickView, and we're sort of, Amanda's title is Senior Customer Service Manager, but we are talking about using videos in the classroom and in the professional world with our teaching staff. So I think this is a lovely segue from where we came from to where we are now. So Amanda, thank you for being with us today. And I've had a quick look online again at some of your resources, and I'm very excited to hear about what you're going to talk about today. So over to you and welcome.
Thank you so much, and what a privilege, Amanda. We have more in common than you think. I also left the classroom about the same time as you. So, as a former secondary English teacher, I am really excited to be working. I've been working with schools with ClickView for the last 9 years, and it's definitely fantastic to be, within that teaching and learning world. But I don't have to deal with the parents anymore. So I'm really take my hat off to all of you and the wonderful job that you all do. Yes, Senior Customer Success Manager, fancy name for just what I do is I support schools to make the most of their ClickView subscription. And the reason why I reached out to Mark to see if I could present to you all today is because for the last 8 years, the Department of Education Victoria has actually provided a free subscription to all state Victorian schools. And we're so honoured that we have been the chosen platform for educational video for all schools. It speaks to our want for making sure that every learner matters, no matter where they are in the state, and we're of course we're across the country and also across the world as well. I'm based in Melbourne, and we also have a production arm in Melbourne as well, based in Carlton, and our headquarters is in Sydney. But yeah, each school, each state school in Victoria has the full support of myself and a colleague of mine who works alongside me to support all state schools in Victoria. I just wanted to really let you know what is ClickView in case you haven't heard of it before, even though most of the state has had access to ClickView for the past 8 years now. It's still probably not as I guess made the most of as it could be, and certainly I still, in my 9th year of doing this, will meet teachers who still haven't heard of it before. So what exactly is it, what isn't ClickView as well, and how we serve to help you to discover the right video at the right time, engage students in video content, and then understand the impact of how that's been received. So firstly, what is ClickView? We've been
Amanda's just frozen right when we're about to get into the good bit there about what is ClickView. It is on the screen, but obviously there's some challenges in that space at the moment to get Amanda back and presenting. I can see our team beavering away in the background to see if we can get Amanda back up and running. Just bear with us for a moment.
I might just give her a quick call, Morris. Okay, thank you. While we do that, then we might just quickly reshuffle our order a bit and maybe throw to Mark now for his pod pick, which is something we've introduced. We're going to leave this till the end of the session today, but while we're getting Amanda back on deck, which we can do right now, Mark, I'll just throw over to you.
Thank you, Morris. We'll jump the order and hopefully we're back. So a feature this year we are introducing is called the Pod Pick, which there's two components. Some weeks we'll have organisations or groups who have a podcast who will promote their podcast, and in other weeks we'll get educators who spend a fair bit of time on the road who might like to share what they like to listen to, and perhaps you might pick up something that intrigues you and wish to investigate. So today we are very lucky or unlucky, however you want to pursue it, to have yours truly presenting. So very quickly, in a few minutes, Morris, as you know, I do many kilometres on the road. The price I'm seeing of fuel at the moment, I might have to reduce that for the next few weeks, but we'll see.
We thought we'd buy you a bike.
Yes. So just a bit of a summary from me. At different times I do listen to audio books for the longer drives. And it's interesting how different authors cut across world audio books, and some necessarily don't. I don't know if other people found that, where they drift off and start thinking about something and then have to listen to the whole chapter again. But I will say I do find Harlan Coben's easy to follow. I don't know literature book club wise whether they would pass that test, but as far as driving, they are good. As far as education goes, I actually do like listening to the South Australian Principals Association podcast, and I know we'll have Andrew Dalgleish here later in the series promoting the Victorian one. South Australian one gets a range of interesting speakers on, so I find that very informative. Different times I listen to music. I actually drive in silence sometimes, not just when I'm giving some advice to people who sit in the right-hand lane doing 90 kilometres, but that helps. Informative, when I'm in the mood to be stretched and learn new things, Alan Alda's Clear and Vivid podcast, where he often talks to a lot of authors and scientists, and you pick up a lot of random facts that are healthy for you if you like going to trivia nights or other things, or just to entertain your friends, whether that be about squid or anything really. It's interesting. And there's a series of questions that Alan asks towards the end that are also quite entertaining. So, funnily enough, I get a lot of recommendations around comedy podcasts, whether people think I need more humour in my life or I am by that way natured. But funnily enough, I actually have great difficulty listening to them when I'm driving. I find, especially if there's two or three, I actually find a bit distracting when it's going back and forth. So if it's a single voice, I'm fine. Just interesting, isn't it? It's all personal taste. That's what we're on about. And Emma Gentle, who's going to be on the PD Online series this term, I see has a podcast. So it's always good to have one in the chamber ready to go that you're keen to listen to. And I guess it's a bit like streaming services. You listen to the first two or three, and if there's a hook and they get you in, you go for it, and otherwise you politely move on. So that's me in general. I don't mind to sing along to different music, and if I am attending an upcoming concert of a performer, I'll try and listen to their songs as a lead up to it. But Morris, I've padded there for 5 minutes, and hopefully Amanda too is back online.
Yeah,
and if anyone's out there listening who would love to be one of our PodPick people, please get in touch. We would be honoured to have you on board. Thanks, Morris.
Thanks, Mark. And when Mark says he listens to musicians, he basically listens to Cold Chisel, and that's about it. So anything to do with them will be his music of choice, and he'll do a deep dive on the band members and their output. So as Mark said, if you're interested in being part of our series going forward, please reach out. If you've got a quick pod suggestion today, stick it in the chat box. But Amanda is back, so we've padded out. And Amanda, it's lovely to have you back, and I'll hand over back to you.
How's the timing? Sorry about that.
That's all good.
Okay, so yes, what exactly is ClickView? In short, we are, we've been relied upon for a very long time for teachers to get their ad-free curriculum-aligned videos from, and it's also a place where students can log in to access educational video really safely. The kind of videos that you'll find on ClickView come from three main buckets. and they're vast and varied. We have documentaries, we have interviews, case studies, instructional video content, lecture captures, demonstration-based content, as well as dramatizations, role plays, animations. And so I sort of divide them up into 3 buckets. We have our ClickView originals, which I mentioned earlier before the shutdown. We have our production unit in Carlton, where we work with educational consultants to produce curriculum-aligned content. And so you'll find lots of them, and we've actually licensed that content, quite a few of our titles, out to ABC and distribute them around the world, and won awards for them, which we're really proud of. We also have third-party licensed content. So these are basically it's content that is created by other producers that we pay for a license, so you don't have to buy it. Okay, so it all comes included within the ClickView platform. And then lastly, we have our broadcast content, which if you're in leadership in a school, then you'd know that you have a screen rights license, which gives you permission to show free-to-air TV and Foxtel recordings within the educational context. And so what we do is we make copies of that, and we put them into our platform, and we make them really easy for you to use in that classroom. So it's all classroom ready. So there are several ways we make it easy for you to discover that right video at the right time, whether it's during your planning meetings, which is actually where I do spend a lot of my time working. I work with planning teams or learning specialists or whole schools while they're in their planning phase, to have a look on ClickView to find the right stuff. So once you log in, and state school staff will log in using their EduPass credentials, you'll come to the Discover page. You will go into a content area, so a subject like, for example, this is in our health and PE area, and you'll find our curated topics. So topics are really carefully curated collections of our videos. It's grouped around a specific subject, concept, current issue, or special event. And we actually cater to from prep all the way up to year 12. We also have tertiary school or tertiary institutions that use ClickView at the higher level as well. Now, these videos are curated by our education team. They all are former teachers. And so it's not everything that we've got on a particular topic, but it's our top picks. Once you're in that topic area, we have made it really easy to navigate. So, for instance, I will pop into civics and citizenship as an example. I will go on to all topics here. I will find a topic like democracy, and I see these subheadings here that have made it really easy to go through what is a democracy, and here are some videos seeking to answer that question. Different types of democracy, and we have, again, a series of videos of varying levels of complexity as well, so you can facilitate exposure to multiple versions or presentations of the same concept. Now, these are designed for saving you time, but also, if you can imagine you've never taught a particular topic before, or you have some new and beginning teachers, potentially pre-service teachers in your midst, and they really have no idea where to start. These ClickView topics are a great way to sort of narrow down the sometimes overwhelming experience of trawling through another video platform where you have to sift through thousands of results, and then, of course, not knowing the integrity or quality of it, or the copyright status either. So we're focusing here more on quality videos rather than the quantity of videos. So what you'll see as well, particularly if you're in a primary school, is on the Discover page, we make it easy to find content that is based around a special event. So on our special events calendar, up the top here, you'll see that we have a whole host of special events curated. Harmony Week is next week. And so here you'll find, again, highly curated collection, classroom ready videos with accompanying resources. So teacher packs, worksheets, activities and ideas for using that video content within a lesson that's not just a passive viewing experience. One thing that I'm really passionate about this year is in my work is that I get to work with schools as they are rolling out the VTLM 2.0. We want to make sure that video use in the classroom is really purposeful and conveyed with a clear intention, because gone are the days where we click play and pray that it sinks in. We know that we need to engage students more with the content, and so we do have those resources, both static and interactive, available. If you're looking for some fantastic ideas and exemplars of how video can be used in a quality lesson, I'm really proud to say that we're working with the Victorian Lesson Plan team as well. So you can, if you are using the Victorian lesson plans, you will find lesson plans in here that have ClickView links. So for example, in the Moons lesson here for year 1, we open up the lesson structure, you'll see in stage 2, it's a great way in that modelling and demonstration phase to place or embed that video. So that will link out to the ClickView browser. So really good examples of how you can use video really intentionally within a high quality lesson plan. So I just wanted to maybe dive a little bit deeper into the engagement side of or the features that allow for deeper engagement with the videos. We know that, it's going to hop into here. Okay, so we know that working memory is limited, and so what we know from research, and I mean the research I'm not going to go through in a lot of detail today because we're running out of time, but we know that as the video goes on and the longer the video is, the lesser time that viewers are engaged with what's going on. Now, this research is just done on tertiary students. So if you can imagine, after 3 minutes or 6 minutes, 90% of the audience are able to watch the whole thing, and then it drops significantly after 6 minutes. Now that's an adult learner. Imagine what it's like in a younger learner in a school. And so if we extrapolate that sort of data and apply it to the classroom, the sweet spot is around 2 to 4 minutes in primary and between 4 and 6 minutes in secondary. But we know, of course, that that's dependent on your learner group. And it's also dependent on the video itself and the content in that. So how complex is it? How new is the information? What's the style of presentation like? You know, even a font can be distracting and just derail the entire, endeavor. And so what we try to do is keep that in mind, and we provide a feature where you can cut down longer videos into shorter segments of videos using that clipping tool. So I love what, the idea of having prescriptive resources is fantastic for consistency within a school, and of course it's fantastic to have something that's really ready to go, and you can sort of roll it out in the classroom. But also with ClickView, you can still respect that, keep the art of teaching respected, and have the freedom to work with the resources as you want to. And so you'll find the possibilities of using videos on ClickView really are endless, just depending on how you want to do it. So aside from keeping in mind the video duration, we also want to make sure that, like I said, the students are engaging in the content of the video. And here comes in onto the stage our ClickView interactives. So ClickView interactives are basically pre-written interactive questions that pause the video after a short segment so you can check for understanding. Then you can guide the class through the question once it's paused. You can turn it into a turn and talk, a stop and jot, a cold call, whatever you want. The group can respond in chorus. If you use mini whiteboard, you can have the students write their answers down on the mini whiteboard and get them to flash it up. However you check for understanding, we are just in the business of making sure you also embed that sort of teaching practice in the playing of a video as well. And our interactive function allows you to do that. I'll show you what the questions look like. They can be editable as well. So here's the example of the Harmony Day one. You can preview those questions. You can print it as a worksheet so that the students can have that in front of them as you're watching the video. Or you can make your own copy and edit it So, for example, if you don't want to have short answer questions, we can shoot over to that question and delete it. And perhaps you'd like to add a different one. Maybe you'd like to add an annotation and put in your WALT statement. We are learning to, or by the end of this lesson, we'll be able to X, Y, Z. So these are all customizable depending on your cohort. And if you've got multiple year levels in the one class group, then you can actually make different copies of these and send them out to the students to complete individually. When you're doing that and the students are accessing the questions on their own devices, you get to see how they've performed on those questions. So you get a full dashboard of analytics to make the right decisions about where to go next in your next class. How much of the video have they watched? What did they skip? What did they rewind? So you're getting responses in real time to be able to adapt your teaching. So all of this is available to any department schools in Victoria for free, including any professional development that you're after from myself. If the calendar aligns, then I'd love to pop out and visit, because I think there's something to an on-site visit that can't really be replaced. But of course, we can always do WebEx or whatever you need to. Do go and explore ARC. Visit the special events calendar if you're in the primary, because that's where I'm sure you're going to have your aha moment. And more than anything, just remind your staff that this is available so that you can really save time trawling through, you know, other risky areas where you might be habituated to go and explore. Make it ClickView first. Thank you so much again for having me.
Amanda, again, I love it because you've gone straight to the heart of what I think some of the things that you know, schools have found challenging trying to fit into, you know, what still is roughly a 6-hour day, and you've made it so efficient and effective, particularly with those you know, special days that come up on the calendar quite regularly, and they're all important. But our schools are trying to navigate the resources, and you've created something quite amazing and quite wonderful. And I was actually going to ask you about that concentration stuff, but you covered it there about the size of the videos. I mean, our social media companies cottoned onto this a number of years ago, and they target people with the length of videos, obviously, for best buy-in. And you've done that with that capacity to cut them up and share them and look at that. So I think it's an amazing resource. And again, if, like you said, if people are interested, there's obviously a lot of research that's gone into this, that to reach out to you and your team, and you'd be more than happy to work with,
yes, please.
At any particular pace.
Yes, please. Absolutely. And the work that I do with schools really varies from school to school and from situation to situation. So yeah, can't wait to learn about how it's working at your school.
Thank you. We promised you 2 wonderful Amandas, and I think we've delivered. Both Amanda Tan and Amanda Rossi have given us some great content there. And as we said, it's about resources, and I think we've started the year with fantastic content and something that you can value add to your classroom in your school, and make things, you know, we always talk about working smarter, not harder, and I think these 2 examples can do just that. So we've just about run out of time for today. I see that the survey is certainly up there in the chat box if you can complete it. And I'm now going to hand back to Gary.
Thanks, Morris. I would also like to thank everybody concerned with today's presentation. It's been really brilliant, but particularly Amanda Tan and Amanda Rossi for their insights. I couldn't help thinking back to when I first started teaching economics at Balmoral High School. 1 teacher in the faculty, me, 2 students in year 12, and 1 textbook. It's changed for the better. And so for new teachers, there's a wonderful amount of resources available. And I think particularly for teaching principals, the sorts of materials that you've presented must be a great assistance to them when they're caught up with administration. A reminder that the survey is now in the chat box, so please complete it before signing off today. We really do appreciate the feedback. Now, next Wednesday's session, the second in the autumn series, will focus on what I always regarded as the greatest benefit from CEP membership, the value of connectiveness in the rural learning environment. So thank you to everybody. Mark, could I suggest your podcast could include the goons? That will help you spend the time as you're driving. Thank you, everybody, for your contribution to today's session, and we look forward to seeing you next week. Good evening, and until next Wednesday, have a great week.